This is the Sabbath School lesson for the fourth quarter, 2021.
Lesson 3 from the series Present Truth in Deuteronomy is titled The Everlasting Covenant, ready for teaching on October 16, and I'm Percy Harrold. Wednesday, October 13. His Special People. It's hard for us today to grasp much of what the ancient world was like at the time in which Israel was wandering the wilderness. If whole empires have come and gone, with only ruins, if that, remaining, what can we know of many of the smaller pagan nations that lived in the same area as Israel did? Not a whole lot, but we do know one thing. These people were steeped in paganism, polytheism, and some utterly degrading practices, which included child sacrifice. Try to imagine just how degrading and evil a culture and religion would be that would do that to their own children, and do so in the name of some god. No wonder, again and again, all through the history of ancient Israel, the Lord had warned his people against following the practices of the nations around them, as in Deuteronomy 18:9, "When you come into the land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominations of those nations." And that's because God had called out this nation for a special purpose. By having entered into the covenant with God, they were to be a special people, a witness to the world of the God who created the heaven and the earth, the only God. Read Deuteronomy 26, verses 16 to 19. How is the covenant relationship between God and Israel summed up in these verses? How should their faithfulness to the covenant be manifested in the kind of people they were to become? What lessons can we take from there for ourselves as well? Deuteronomy 26, beginning at verse 16. "This day the Lord your God commands you to observe these statutes and judgments. Therefore you shall be careful to observe them with all your heart and with all your soul. Today you have proclaimed the Lord to be your God, and that you will walk in his ways and keep his statutes, his commandments, and his judgments, and that you will obey his voice. Also today, the Lord has proclaimed you to be his special people, just as he promised you, that you should keep all his commandments, and that he will set you high above all nations which he has made, in praise, in name, and in honour, and that you may be a holy people to the Lord your God, just as he has spoken." How fascinating that Moses begins these 4 verses with the words, "this day," as in right now again. God commands you to do these things. Moses repeats the idea in verse 17. He had been commanding them all along to do these things. It's as if Moses is telling them they need to commit at this very moment again to be the faithful, holy, and special people, which is truly the central reason for their existence as the covenant nation. They were the only nation who knew the true God and knew the truth about this God and how he wanted them to live. In a real sense, they not only had present truth, but they also were in their own way to embody that truth until Jesus, the truth himself, as we read in John 14, verse 6, was to come. And John 14, verse 6 reads, "Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And so to finish the day, why is the idea of this day committing to God and to his covenant requirements relevant even to us this day? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.